This podcast features adult content not suitable for listeners under the age of 18. You have been warned.
Welcome to this episode of Back to the Story, where friends come together to play Dungeons and Dragons. I'll be your DM, Klouse. Let's get started.
If there's anybody in our friends group that you can tell me.
I don't think the stars would shine so bright if just one of you were not here.
My name is Ezekiel at your service.
You have my sword.
You're the only person who makes me want to be better than I am.
And my axe.
I wasn't strong enough or fast enough or, clever enough. I didn't have it in me to stop what happened.
We haven't done this before. Does that make us professional?
That would make you amateurs at best.
And if those do not help their people survive, they're cut from the pack.
You wake up from this daydream, from this nightmare. Half memory, half dream.
There's more out there to find, and there's more moments for having.
I'll find a way to be stronger next time.
I don't know fuck all about what's right.
Everyone who has ever loved you was wrong.
You can do better.
I know. I have to.
How do you want to do this? Previously, on Chapter 17, Final Farewells, after defeating Orcesis the Valgreth, you all rested, Ezekiel gathering wood from the overgrown ruins to create 2 funeral pyres for the 2 monstrous bodies. The next morning, Vesper led the 1-hour ceremony performing funeral rites upon the corpse of Orcesis, protecting him from foul magics. The group then discovered a treasure chest beneath the altar to Valisol in the ruined temple. Pushing past traps and magical locks, you found treasure. Collecting the goat head of the Valgreth upon a simple makeshift sled, you traveled for 3 days south to Embershore. Ellory stopped by the Odysseus harbor for advice on Valisol. Ezekiel found a peaceful place collecting emberstones and the remembrance of his lost comrades, and the rest went to Rothwan Rook with the Valgreth head. But the Covenant Commissioner's office was closed. Kalvyn and Bald decided to stay after being momentarily harassed by Covenant, were taken in to rest at the Forge Tower of Covenant Dia Row. The next day, the group collected their substantial earnings and found out that the contract was closed and the Unhallowed had taken up the contract. Leaving, you all took some time with your family, sharing stories, both new and old. The night before your departure, Vesper gathered you all outside the doors to Stonehill Abbey, where a bonfire was made, and she brought the mostly disintegrated wings of the harpy you all faced as children and threw it into the fire. As the flames raised, Vesper also cut her braid from her hair, tossing it upon the fire as well. You spent time together here in Embershore for the last night for a long time. The next day, Ellory went to the Devil's Yard, a neighborhood of tieflings, accompanied by Ball and Amsen, to collect a wood elf to be transported to Whiteguard for voyage. The task turned out to be more dubious, as they found her and several others apparent slaves in the slave market called Heritage Packs. You've all now gathered in warm harbor of Embershore. This windy morning, the docks are full of ships as you step aboard the Selafalun, Elven for Keen Blade, as you make your payments of 40 gold pieces, and the 60 gold pieces for Orizana's passage. Stepping aboard, you are directed to the side with a few other passengers, with the golden elves rushing this way and that, carrying crates, ropes, and one golden elf steps forward to address you. You see he's a slender, handsome elf with golden tan skin and bright sea-green eyes. He has a medium blue-black hair that falls to his shoulders, pulled back over his ears in a ponytail. He wears simple light pants, bare feet, and a tight leather vest. And as he steps forward, "Hello. I am Herv Iriro Fairloom, and I will guide you on this journey. This will be your home for the next week or so, but this is our ship, and while you're on it, you'll follow our rules, my orders, and the commands of my crew for our and your own safety. Your quarters are below deck towards the stern, that's the rear, and set your gear down and we'll be leaving port shortly." And after addressing you, he begins off to do his business. But otherwise, you guys are on the ship, have paid passage, and are free to do whatever you want, if you want to.
And remind me, how long are we expecting the first trek to Whiteguard to be?
About a week.
Okay. So, Ellory, who is your new friend that you brought aboard?
Well, this is Orizana, and I think we all probably need to have a discussion about her and her situation before too very long, once we get settled in.
That seems somewhat ominous, but okay.
Yeah, there's some bullshit going on.
Are we just, standing in front of the captain, just being like, there's some bullshit going on?
That's kind of up to you guys what you want to do. I should have described it too as y'all came aboard the ship. It's a long and slender ship with 3 masts, elegant curved angles. The wood of the ship looks unmilled, like a tangled roots of mangroves that weave together almost like a wicker basket for the top half. The bottom half of the ship, the one where the water up to the waterline, seems to be lined with scales, this sort of dark green scales that line the bottom of the ship. But yeah, as you'll step aboard, one of the golden elves kind of directs you and points you down, going down the stairs into the bottom section where there are a few rooms and a section of a few hammocks that have been set up. You see a family, a man, a woman, and a teenager perhaps, take one of the rooms, and you see a gentleman dressed in dark clothes takes the other room with a hefty sack on his back. He has a bandana around his face and a wide-brimmed black hat on his head as he goes into his room and closes the door to set everything down. And you guys are welcome to set your gear down amongst the hammocks as you will as well.
Well, it won't be the most comfortable journey.
We've had worse, though.
Are we secluded enough right now? Is there anybody other than us around?
Right now, no. There's the family that seems to be unloading. Their door is open, and then the other room currently closed with the gentleman dressed in black, but otherwise no.
And did our friend, our add-on, are they manacled? I don't remember how that ended or how that went.
She has no manacles on.
So you want to get to it? Let us know what's up.
If we speak quietly, do I think we can speak without being overheard by the family settling?
You can do that.
Okay. So I guess, gather them all in a corner of the room that's furthest away from the, where the other 2 rooms are. And does Orizana seem to be reacting to anything, or is she just kind of still very subdued?
Subdued. She just kind of comes near, follows you, and she's sat down at this point as you're just kind of all standing around.
So, this is Orizana. Things are pretty bad. So, Ezekiel, you didn't hear what was going on before. You were wherever you were when I told everybody else about the situation. I took a job that I am now seriously regretting. I was asked to escort Orizana here to Whiteguard by a friend of mine. Only when I went to pick her up, I don't know how long this has been going on, but at least at the time that I picked her up, she was being held as a slave.
A slave?
Yeah, so apparently there is at least one slavering going on in Embershore.
Did she commit a crime?
I don't know. I don't know anything yet.
Can we ask her?
I intended to. So
Is she not currently right there?
She is.
She, and she's sitting down just on the floor. There's no chair. She is a wood elf with dark brown hair, dark tan skin, deep hazel eyes. You can tell she was maybe once beautiful, but looks tired, worn down. and her belly seems to swell as if with child. She seems apathetic and is just kind of sitting there, kind of looks at the ground, doesn't do much.
Vesper, would you mind taking a look at her?
I'd be happy to. I'm going to cast Detect Poison and Disease first to see if she's got anything
So
worse than just... Yeah.
Closing your eyes and pushing your sight forward, trying to reach out, trying to find poison or disease. You'd find neither.
Yeah, then I'll just kind of do like a physical, no sudden movements. I'm just being very gentle with her.
Okay. You want to make a medicine check?
I do.
And just as a reminder, you guys can do the take 10 mechanic if you want to.
I'll do that, actually.
Okay.
So I want to be thorough, and that'll be a 19.
Okay, so taking, a good solid 10 minutes, taking your time to do it. You look at her, her eyes are bloodshot. There are dark rings under her eyes as if she hasn't been sleeping well. Looking over her body, there's a few bruises here and there, a few scrapes. It looks like those wounds and marks have been delivered physically. And there is a scar upon her stomach, a pretty noticeable one. Looks like it's been stitched up. When you do go for that, she pushes away and backs down. You don't get a great look at it unless you were to be more aggressive, but you do see there is a scar on her stomach.
Are you with child, Orizana?
She looks up at you and kind of shakes her head, squinting her eyes as if she doesn't understand.
Ellory, can you ask her in Elvish?
Yeah, so I'm going to say first in Elvish, my friend Vesper here is a healer, and she wants to know if you're with child.
She looks like she's listening to you, but turns her head away. Make a persuasion check.
Okay.
You see, she is very hesitant to trust anyone.
12.
She turns her head away from you. She doesn't run or move away, but she just kind of turns and doesn't respond.
If I do get a little more aggressive, can I see how fresh the scar is?
Yeah. She'll kind of back away at first, but she will eventually kind of rescind and just kind of let you do whatever you need to do. And make a medicine check here at this point.
Natural 20.
Okay. It's fairly fresh. It looks like it's maybe a week old, maybe 2 weeks. It looks like it was made with precision, with a sharp blade on purpose. And it was been closed just as well on purpose.
My concern is that maybe she's smuggling something, or being used to smuggle something.
That wouldn't entirely surprise me.
That's fucked up.
Yeah, well, I told you there was some kind of bullshit going on.
And your town just appear to be okay with this?
The Covenant is okay with a lot of things they shouldn't be. But apparently that part of the town is not covered by Covenant law.
Well, they may have purchased their own laws. In our city, the law is made by those with money.
What a wonderful way to rule. Were there others? Was this girl the only one?
She wasn't the only one.
Then it is best that I was not there with you, because I would not have left while any of there were breathing. And you wonder why I prefer the morality of beasts to man. And Ezekiel's gonna get up. He'll cast good berries and just set them down next to Orizana, and he's gonna go above deck.
Okay. And after you do that, walking up deck, as you are moving up the stairs, all of you feel a sudden lurch as the ropes are pulled up and the ship begins to push off from the docks, heading east, beginning the journey across the Sea of Orn. Going up deck, Ezekiel, you see the Golden Elves are surprisingly not as busy as you would expect them to be. There's a few moving here and there, but most of them are just kind of hanging on to the sides, looking out to sea.
I'll just kind of watch them work and brood somewhere.
Okay.
Well, frankly, I don't give a shit what she did or who she pissed off. I'm not handing her over to anyone.
we're gonna help her, right?
Yes. I think I knew, at least part of me knew, the moment I accepted this job that I wasn't actually going to fulfill it. I guess there'll be consequences for that when I get back home.
Do we want to take a look at the goods?
It can't be good inside her like that.
Let me try talking to her a little bit more.
Right. It's a bit early to just do surgery.
I don't think she knows what's going on. At least she doesn't know who we are. She has no reason to trust us.
We can investigate a little bit more. Possibly when we've built a little bit of trust. We have a few days to do that.
So, in Elvish, I say to Orizana, well, we haven't had a chance for proper introductions yet. My name is Ellory, and I give the names of each of my friends. And the one who just left is Ezekiel. I was hired to take you to Whiteguard. And that's where this ship is heading. But I want you to know that I have no intention of turning you over to anyone against your will.
You hear in Elvish bullshit under her breath.
Well, I know you don't have any reason to trust me. I don't expect you to. But, in the meantime, is there anything that you need?
He just kind of shrugs. You know she is glancing down at the berries that Ezekiel left.
I go ahead and pick one of those up and hand it to her.
She eats it immediately.
Can I cast Detect Magic? Just to see if whatever's in her belly pings?
You can. Do you do so?
I would like to do so.
Okay, so reaching out in a similar manner, but instead of poison or disease, looking for signs of magic. There's a few things upon your comrades that ping, but upon her, yeah, something does ping in her stomach. And I'll say transmutation.
Okay.
If it's all right, I would like to kind of approach slowly and kneel down to her, and in Elvish ask if,
are you religious at all?
She kind of scoffs. Like her face gives the expression, what a silly question.
You wouldn't mind. I would like to pray for you.
I'm gonna, with one hand, grab my holy symbol and kind of grip it so that it starts to prick my my hand, and then I'm gonna put another hand on her, like gently on her forehead, and softly say a prayer. It sounds mostly just like mumbles, but I'm gonna lay on hands, just maybe 1 or 2 points.
Okay, and roll a persuasion check for me as well.
Okay. Ooh, which one? Let's do.
As the divine light of your holy symbol lights up like the sun, and in your palm the light flows as well into her forehead.
It's a 17.
Okay. At first she recoils from your touch, but doesn't fight. And as you pull away and the light fades, she kind of meets your gaze. She's been averting her gaze from all of you, but she meets yours. And there's a little bit of recognition on her eyes before she averts it again. She's coming around, but slowly.
Kalvyn just says, "We'll be here when you're ready." And then he gets up and I guess does whatever else he needs to do.
All right, well, you guys are on a boat. Did you want to do anything in particular?
I want to go up onto the deck and watch the boat set sail, leave the dock, because that would be great.
Sure. Yeah, you go up top.
I'm going to ask Orizana if she wants to come up to the top or if she wants to stay here. And either way, I'm going to follow Amsen up.
Okay. She shakes her head no and remains seated. As whoever goes up top, the wind hits your face immediately, blowing your hair to the side and back. As you look and you see Embers are already a fair distance away. You're about a mile, maybe 2 miles out, and upon your left to the north, you see the island, the maybe half a mile in diameter island that rises up on a small mountain in its center. This is the Ember Isle, where the Moorport family resides. And as you kind of curve around the corner, you see almost a small inlet leading into that small island. where there are a few ships, one large one and a few smaller ones, lined up. You can see a staircase and the remnants of pieces of structures that lead up. And you can see just barely the bit of a stone building near the top of that small hill, really, more than the mountain. And to the east, you see the vast expanse of the Sea of Orn spreading out before you as you head into it.
I'm gonna walk all the way around the perimeter of the ship, ending at the stern to watch Ember Shore.
Okay.
I'm going to lean over the side and drop a handful of coins into the water.
Okay.
One for me, one for each of my friends, and one for Orizana.
Okay. These coins into the water below quickly as you travel over it on the ship.
I want to go to the bow and look off and watch the waves kind of hit the front of the ship.
Okay. And they crash as it just breaks right through the curved wicker wood, seeming to cut through it like a knife, and you understand where this ship got its name.
Do I notice anybody else dropping coins into the water?
Make a perception check.
All right. That is 16.
Okay. Yeah, looking around, you actually do see one individual who seems to be towards the front of the boat, actually leaning over the side, that seems to have dropped something into the water. A golden elf. You saw him earlier. You recognize him from the weapon he holds. He's too far to see this up front, but you did see him as he walked earlier. An older, grizzled-looking, tall golden elf with surprisingly broad shoulders, long black hair, with a bushy, bristling beard that is long and pointed, that stretches down towards the sea, ending at his sternum, wearing a chainmail vest and heavy steel arm guards. They looked worn, like it's seen battle. He carries a weapon with him, a long glaive with a ribbon tied around it towards the blade side. After he drops the coins, he begins kind of just looking around, out to the horizon and to the ship as well.
Well, I was going to stay downstairs with Orizana, just kind of not necessarily sitting with her, but just sitting downstairs as well, like in her vicinity.
Okay. Yeah, you can do so. And you hear the sounds of the family begin to be settled in and quiet down as they seem to have packed what they needed to down. And the second room down there, the one that was closed, opens up once more, but no one walks out.
What's inside that room?
Getting up as you walk by the first room to the left, you see a small room with a small bed, and you see 3 humans, the man, woman, and a teenager family. And then the second room, as you look over, you see a very similar setup room, but you don't see immediately anyone standing or sitting or on the bed. You do see a tent that's been set up, and outside of the tent, you see a sign that says Alley Stock, and it points towards the entrance to the tent.
I think I'll maybe push the door closed if it looked like it kind of opened from the rocking of the boat.
Okay. You pull the door closed once more.
And then I'll just go back to kind of sitting down.
Okay. You do so. The rest of you are doing anything particular?
I would like to go look for Ezekiel.
Ezekiel, where are you hanging?
Up on the deck somewhere, probably just looking back at Ember Shore, glowering, wondering if my graffiti is still hanging over the city. I don't know if it's been an hour or not.
Oh, actually, yeah, you all would actually see that graffiti as you're leaving. It's starting to get a little blurry and hard to see at this point as you're just getting sheer distance away, but it doesn't seem to have faded yet.
Can you remind me of what that said?
Evil lurks beneath the winery, is coin worth your souls.
So, when I approach Ezekiel, I'm just going to come up next to him and say, I guess it's not just the winery that evil lurks beneath, is it?
It would appear not.
You didn't stay for the rest of the discussion, but you know we're not turning her over, right?
I never believed you would. Still doesn't make me less upset that I didn't know or find a way to stop it.
I know.
I'll be alright. I just don't like the idea of people in chains. Maybe anyone in chains, but...
Neither do I.
You know, forgive me if this is a bit personal, but you alluded earlier that you spent some time in chains in that city yourself.
Yeah, I did. I spent 8 months in the prison there.
Well, I'm sorry that you had to go through that. I won't pry into anything, but when we were talking earlier, it seemed like there were things you wanted to say, but you were worried about your friends hearing them. I'm just happy to offer that a kind stranger is sometimes easier to talk to without risking hurting those you love. I'm here if you need me.
Thank you.
And if you prefer more physical therapies, I think we could work something out there as well. And he'll just kind of wink and walk to the other side of the boat.
Yeah, Ellory's gonna just kind of stare out at the water for a minute and slowly start grinning.
Y'all sit down below or above deck as the wind kind of continues to push against you, as the ember shore slowly fades to where it's too far for you to really see. For a while longer, the land of Severwind, you can see it in the distance far, but eventually that too begins to fade as it disappears to where all you see is a horizon in every direction of sea and ocean. And Ball, about that time, the door opens again. And you see a gloved hand move something, a stool or something, to the door to keep it in place.
How close to the door am I?
Maybe 20, 25 feet, something like that.
I think I'll stand up and just kind of like casually at a slow pace walk towards the door.
Okay. You see the same scene as before, an empty room with a tent set up, the sign.
Do you always hide?
No response.
I'll leave the door open next time. And I'll go back and sit down.
Okay.
What's Orizana doing?
She's just been sitting there. Yeah, she has eaten another berry or two. But otherwise is just sitting there. Looks like she's trying to sleep.
I guess like eyes closed, kind of just not paying attention in a way?
Yeah, just lean back, eyes closed. You can tell she's not asleep, but she's trying.
Okay. I want to just do, I want to just use Divine Sense while I'm sitting there and just kind of focus it in her direction.
Okay. Pressing that sense out to see if you sense any sort of noxious evil in the area. You don't detect anything.
All right. I think I'll just, maybe I'll take the opportunity to go outside and get some fresh air. I'd like to think that, Paul's probably not best suited for boat rides. So he's going to go outside and get some fresh air and maybe quell some rumblings in his stomach.
Sure. And especially, below deck. You actually have to hunch over. You can't stand up straight. It's not tall enough for you. The ceiling's maybe 7 feet tall, so even Ezekiel is getting up there. You go outside as well, entering into the wind, as you see the pilot or the golden elf at the helm of the wheel. A few other elves kind of looking here and out.
Yeah, I think I'm just enjoying the scenery. If there's much to enjoy, is it just kind of like water in every direction?
In every direction, yeah, water. Eventually, though, a few more hours pass. Interrupt me if you want to do anything in particular. But a few more hours eventually would pass as the sun begins to sink below the horizon behind you to the west.
At some point, I would wander downstairs and just checking if Orizana is all right. But if I notice the tent, I'm going to just kind of walk in to the room. Hello? Hello? And pop my head inside.
Okay. As you go down to check on Orizana, you can see her laying down in the distance. Looks like she's actually asleep by the time you check on her. You do notice the tent in that room. Entering in, you see the sign that says Alley Stock. And the tent itself it's a fairly large tent. It takes up a good portion of the room. It's maybe a 2-person tent, maybe 3. You poke your head into the tent, and the tent, instead of being maybe 10 feet long and 6 feet wide, it is a room. The walls are tinted, the ceiling is tinted, but the floors are laid planks of wood, and the room itself looks like it's maybe 40 by, or maybe 20 by 30 feet. Looks like there's a separate room towards the back as well. You see a large room. You see shelves full of various knickknacks and trinkets, and you see a counter. And upon it, you see a large weapon, huge, a great claymore. And on the other side of the counter, working on this weapon, you see the man dressed in black who looks up at you. Hello, friend. Welcome to Alleystock. Is there something that I could help you with?
I'm going to do one of those Looney Tune moments where I pop my head back out of the tent and shake it really fast before going back in and be like, all right. Well, hello there, good sir. I presume you're Allie?
That is right. And at this point, he kind of walks around the counter, begins to make his way towards you. My name is Alejandro Black. You can call me Allie. And he reaches his hand out to shake your hand. And as he gets closer to you, you see he's tall, not quite as tall as you, but he's maybe 6'5", broad shoulders, but very slender, very lanky. He's wearing mostly black pants with a shiny silver belt, sharp, dark, crimson, red-scaled boots. You see a white button-down shirt of long sleeves and a black vest that's ornate with stitched runes that are also in black. They're hard to notice until he gets close. You see upon his head he has a black velvet hat, a round and wide-rimmed hat that's kind of shading his face in shadow. You can see his nose and mouth is covered by a very colorful bandana of twisting and intricate designs of red and black and yellow with hints of vibrant green. As he reaches his hand towards you, he has black leather gloves that have a few symbols on it as he reaches out to shake your hand.
I will shake his hand with a smile, but also using divine sense.
Okay. Pressing your sense out, you get nothing.
All right. Pleasure to meet you. Ezekiel de Barbarat. Am I correct in assuming you've set up a little shop on the boat?
That is right. I have a numerous and wide selection of wares. If you would like to peruse, I can walk you through.
I would love that. But first, I have a feeling my friends are going to be interested, and I don't want you to do this more than once. Hold, please. And I will leave the tent and just try and go find everyone. Anybody interested in shopping?
In the middle of the sea?
Yep. Don't ask questions, just follow me.
All right.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'll come along.
Lead everybody who wants to the tent.
Okay. And one by one, you can kind of enter into the tent, experiencing the same surprise that the inside is much larger than the tent appears to be on the outside. And you see the same gentleman that as I described to Ezekiel earlier. Thank you, George, who's now standing in the center of the room.
So, what do you got?
I have a numerous selection here. You see, I have all of my potions that have been brewed, mostly healing. I'm still dabbling, but I do have the breath of a dragon captured. Here I have a few bolts of explosives developed by gnomes, they say. I have my own personal design of snap ones. These function similar to ones, but are cheaper, more affordable, and have effects that last and can be quite intense. You can see like the muscles maybe behind his bandana smile. You can see his crescent eyes shift with these burning orange pupils. I also offer a number of services of identifying our components should you be a caster yourself. A few scrolls in this section here where he has a few books, pages, a bag, and I have some armor as well that I'm working on, some blades, armor, buckler, and you can see kind of hanging on the wall or placed on the shelf, you see a buckler. It looks like made out of fine wood with runes upon it. You see a golden crown and you see stacked in several different pieces silver plate armor with numerous runes around it. And you also see a walking cane on the same shelf. This is one of my favorites. And he grabs the cane and spins dramatically, pointing at whoever's closest to him, as the cane suddenly into a vibrant longsword that almost vibrates with energy. He twirls it, and it transforms back into a cane as he hits the wood on the ground. Does any of this interest you?
Well, for me, this buckler, what is it? Properties?
This is the shielding buckler. It is a shield that can burst apart, revealing runes that can cast an arcane shield. It is cheap and will only function once, but that may be all you need in a fight.
I see. And how much is that?
This is a mere 100 gold pieces for such an item.
Understand. I will consider.
I'm going to ask him in Ignan, just to see if he can respond. If he sells as well as buys. Or if he buys as well as sells.
So I apologize, my friend. I do not understand the tongue you speak.
Oh, sorry. I'm just wondering if you buy as well as sell.
I would certainly consider such items if you would like to sell.
And I'm going to pull out some of the Ulasil mushrooms and the gullah eye that I totally kept forgetting to give to my dad and offer those.
The gullah eye or that bone?
The eye. Well, I can bring out both, actually.
Okay. Bringing out these items, he moves you over to the countertop. Next to the weapon, you see a great sword. It's very, the steel is almost silver colored, almost shines, and the handle is dark. But he brings you over to the corner, begins looking at these items. Let's see. This has a bioluminescent property. This looks to be an eye. Someone who probably was malnourished. This. He brings. Did you pull out the bone?
Yeah.
This is interesting. Do you know what this does?
It seems to give you a burst of energy. Lets you fight longer, harder.
I would be interested in trading. I don't want to purchase it, but this could certainly act as credit towards a purchase of your own.
What sort of healing potions do you have?
I have a number of them. I have a few standards. Pulls out a case of 8 standards. He has 2 larger graders and 1 superior. And they also, like I said, have the dragon's breath.
What manner of breath? Fire?
No, this one is dissolving corrosive acid.
How much for that?
That one runs a mere 450 gold pieces.
After the credit or before?
After the credit, I might could go down to 425.
How much are the healing potions?
The standard are the 80 gold pieces each, the greater 250, and this one superior took a long time to make and distill is 2,500 gold pieces. And Vesper, you immediately notice the prices are highest. Lysander gives them to you at cost. And so this is more normal prices you might see in the real world.
Great. Why don't I take a standard?
A standard? That would be 80 gold pieces.
After the credit?
55.
Deal.
And while you're looking at consumables, might you consider these snap ones? They work like potions, but a little easier to use, and I'm honestly better at making them, making the cost a bit smaller. I have this one here you can break should you ever fall from a great height, saving you from demise and breaking all of your bones. This one here, if you release this one, you see a gnarled wood that looks like it was been struck by lightning. Releasing this, you will have rays of scorching fire released upon your enemies. And this one, and he delicately picks up another piece of wood. It looks sturdier and harder. This one, if you release, a burning flames will drop upon your enemies, wrapping them in fire.
And how much do those run?
The falling one, 200, the scorcher, 300, and the fireball itself, 400.
Well, I am perfectly happy with my purchase, but if anyone else is interested, I'll look to the others.
I have to give it some thought, but I might be interested in something. A little later.
Maybe after drinks, no?
This close to him, can I see better under the hat? Get a better look at his eyes?
You all see this room is lit by a few candles here and there, glowing sort of a light bluish light, an arcane light. But getting a better look at him is hard, and you kind of start to realize his hat is projecting shadow, an unnaturally thick shadow that seems to be obscuring his face. This hat shouldn't be producing that much shadow based on where the lights are, but yet it is. Are you trying to do this subtly?
Yes.
Make a deception check.
Oh no. That's a 2.
He kind of sees you almost leaning in, and the rest of you notice, actually, it's obvious as Vesper is calling, almost leaning in towards him, squinting her eyes, getting a better view look at him. I wear these items for my own protection. I would respect a respectful distance. I assure you I am, and who I am is of little concern, but my items, I promise you, are worth every gold.
Right, just lights up people in the eye when I'm doing business.
In that case, he kind of leans towards you a little bit and opens his burning orange eyes wider. You can see now sort of through the shadow. You can't really tell what race he is, but he's pale.
You look familiar to people I've known before.
I find that hard to believe, but maybe we can share a drink about it above deck later.
I'd quite like that.
Well, any of the rest of you, are you perhaps interested in my wares? I have a few other lower cost items should you be interested in.
Was the plate armor the only set that was on display?
Of armor specifically?
Yep.
Appears so, yes. Are you over there looking at it?
Yeah, Kalvyn's definitely checking out the quality. He might even ask, do you forge these yourself?
Oh no, I am not a blacksmith myself. I commission the forging and the ingredients that are required for my enchantment. This is of solid silver, and actually there is a bit of ruby crushed and mixed within the metal. I commission the forging and I enchant it after. You see the craftsmanship, looking at it, is pretty damn nice. Someone took their time with this.
Silver's kind of soft metal. Is this purely ornate?
Oh no, not after the enchantment, it's not. Friend, this took 3 months just to forge, and another 2 months to enchant afterwards. This will provide more than adequate protection. And he goes over and knocks on the metal, and it sounds hard. And actually, when he knocks it, there's almost a ripple of arcane energy that kind of flashes across the metal when he does so.
Well, you certainly put a lot of work into it. What are you asking for?
For this one, for an item of this quality, of this strength, and he grips his gloved hand. This one is 7,000 gold pieces. A small price for your life, no?
Kalvyn tries to be like, oh yeah, that is most definitely worth it. Yeah, that would be worth. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And he starts walking away, trying not to fumble and stumble over things.
What's this crown thingy do?
This one, this is a golden crown, and it would protect the wearer from any such attacks that might bring down a wanted individual.
And how much?
This one is 3,500.
Right.
He begins to see that some of these items are pretty high priced, or maybe outside of the spending of his current audience. I do have some other items. I have this arcane spellbook that is more durable in water, heat, cold. I have a few, I call these pages of secrets, where you might write a encrypted letter. I have, of course, the very useful instrument, the bag of holding here, and a few spell scrolls as well, for the more economical adventurer.
The pages for writing encrypted letters, how much do those go for?
Each page runs 50 gold pieces each.
How much for the bag?
The bag is 2,000 gold pieces.
Just curious, I happen to have a katana that is slightly enchanted. Would you be interested in procuring such an item?
I would perhaps. Let us take a look at this katana.
Kalvyn will pull out his Amari katana, the blade he took from... I don't even remember her name anymore, and I guess I could look at my notes, but I drank my drink too fast, so...
Yeah, that's okay. He looks it over. Yes, it is finely made. Elven, I believe. Yes, this is a fine blade. I would perhaps like to procure it. Or would you like trade?
Trade might be ideal. You have a lot of nifty things.
I would say for trade, I would give you 200 gold pieces in trade.
What can I get? I don't know.
You might could ground up for a snap one, perhaps, or a potion.
I was thinking about that falling wand. To be honest, I'm a pretty heavy dude. If I were to fall, it might go splat harder than
it would be absolutely horrible for you, friend. I do not want to see you splattered on the floor beneath some mountain. And this would be a fair trade. I would give you this snap wand, and I would take the Mary, you said, katana.
Well, yeah, that would be swell. I think. Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that snapping wand. So what do? Just kind of break it over your knee, or how's that work? I'm not too keen on this here.
I guess for you.
Casting of the spells.
Of course. He takes the blade and places it on the counter next to the claymore and gives you the snap one. It looks like a small twig of you where runes have been burnt into the side. You see, it looks like feather symbols on either end and almost like gust of wind surrounding it. Whenever you do fall, whenever you feel the rush of wind, simply pull out this twig and snap it in half, and the arcane energies I enchanted within would be released, saving you, my friend, from your utter demise.
In this moment, Kalvyn has a flashback to falling off a cliffside, and he eagerly kind of holds on to the wand, just like kind of slowly, almost like he's going to snap it in his hands right then before he snaps out of it. Thank you. I think I can find some use for this.
I'm glad to be doing business with you. Your name, please.
Oh, my name is Kalvyn. I'm a son of Klein. We run a farm out there on Embershore, just a little outside of the city. Just a standard old farm. I have a couple brothers and sisters, and we work all the time. Well, you have
He's just like nodding his
kind
head.
of important to us.
Well, pleasure to meet you, my friend. My name is Ali, if you did not hear it earlier.
Ali? Okay, cool.
I do have some more work in enchanting this blade to do. Is there any more business you wish to conduct?
Could you tell me a little bit more about how that paper works?
Yes, the paper. You simply take the paper and write upon it in ink. It doesn't require any special ink. Your message, and it will be transmitted through arcane energies in a encrypted form to your desired target, as long as they are on the same plane, of course.
Around what time will you be available for drinks?
I should finish up here, and he looks back at the claymore that has a wolf's head on the handle. I'll probably put in another hour with this, maybe in an hour and a half or so.
Alright. I'll be around.
We all will. This is a ship.
I'll leave.
Okay. You leave. As he kind of goes around the corner, begins still looking around for anyone that is interested, but begins to start working on the giant blade once more.
I'm going to go out and check on Orizana.
I'll go with Ellory.
Okay. Exiting the tent, entering into the room once more, and going outside of it, you see Orizana sleeping.
And then I guess I'll head up on deck.
Okay.
Leave her to sleep.
All right. The rest of you, are you guys doing anything in particular?
I'll go back on deck after not buying anything.
Okay. Kalvyn, did you have something?
Yeah, towards the evening as the sun was setting, I was going to find a couple cups and go find Amsen on the deck and offer him a small sampling of the habanero tequila, if that's cool. I mean, if it's okay if it jumps to this, I don't want to.
Sure. I'll try some of this out. Where'd you get this?
Yeah, it's my dad made it. He makes he makes some hooch for the town for us on the side. But I thought it'd be a nice toast to. I know this isn't our first venture, but it is definitely a first for me. I assume for the rest of us. So I thought this was an occasion worth acknowledging.
Certainly, this looks to be more than hooch, but I'll celebrate your first trip out of the city of Embershore properly with you, definitely.
And as Kalvyn pulls out the bottle, it looks like a bottle of sloshing brownish liquid, or golden brown like whiskey looking perhaps, but there is a pepper, horned orange pepper, within it. As he pours, Kalvyn, how much do you pour? Like a shot?
Maybe like a double shot, like double 2 shots worth. Yeah.
And do you pour some for yourself as well?
Yeah, it's an equal amount for both of us.
Okay. Both of y'all make Constitution saves as you pound it back.
Oh boy, this is going to be great.
And as you do so, the burning is intense. Your eyes are immediately watering, and the pain sears on your tongue.
12?
Okay.
19.
All right. And Amsen, what is your Constitution modifier?
+2.
Okay. You take down this drink, and it takes you a few gulps, and it burns down your throat, hitting into your stomach, and almost churns it, awaking it. It is very spicy and burns very badly. There's a nice, as you smack your teeth, aftertaste, but it's almost completely overwhelmed by the spiciness. And you, after a few minutes of it setting in, begin to feel buzzed. Kalvyn, what is your Constitution modifier?
2.
Y'all both start to feel buzzed, actually.
As it starts to, as he's sitting there taking it in, he kind of slaps him on the back and kind of rubs his shoulder a little bit and kind of faces him towards the side of the ship. And it's like, it's going to be crazy, leaving everything behind for so long.
Yeah. Maybe drinking powerful alcohol on a moving ship is not necessarily the greatest idea, Kalvyn.
He just keeps going. So, I kind of feel bad. I mean, you haven't really got to spend a whole lot of time with your animals, your friends, your dog and your horse. You gonna be okay?
Yeah, I think I'll be fine. What is in that?
You don't think you're gonna miss your horse becoming a unicorn, are you?
I don't think I'm going to miss that event. I'll miss my horse, and I'll miss my dog, and I'll miss my parents, and I'll miss everybody else that we're leaving behind in Embershore. But I don't think I will miss my horse becoming a unicorn, because I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, our old horse, the workhorse, Kelly, when I came back, he was missing. And I was so sad to see him gone, but Haynes, my older brother, he told me, he had his time. And I was like, oh man, I can't believe I missed it. Told me all about it. He told me how he was just working the fields, and one day Raina came by. You know Raina, right? She's a little bit older than us, but she's the daughter of one of the bakers in town. She just came by. He didn't specify what for, but she locked eyes with Kelly. Kelly just kind of were zoned in on each other, and all the color. By the way, Kelly was a chestnut mare. All the color just kind of drained from him with pure white, and a horn just started protruding from his head. And Haynes said he was trying to work with Kelly, and Kelly just ran off with her into the woods. He said that's what happens is they run into the woods and then they won with the constellation in the Feywild known as the Maiden and the Unicorn. That's what happens with all horses that are traded right and fairly. You know, if you just work them right and you give them some kind of action. And I was like, man. But between you and me, my older brother, Jockey, he overheard us talking about this, and he was like, Raina, unicorns are usually attracted to pure maidens. Raina hadn't been pure for years. I didn't really know what he meant by that, but, I mean, I don't know. I guess, hopefully she's pure in those stars. It's all up in the stars, you know? And he kind of gestures a little overly dramatic or whatever, enthusiastically towards the sky.
As an entertainer, Amsen's trying with extreme difficulty to not break the illusion of Kalvyn's story. At the end of it, Amsen simply says, "Well, Kalvyn, that is an excellent story to tell. I am sure that you will gather a wonderful audience if you ever tell it in White God. I think I need to walk around the ship a little bit. Thank you for the alcohol, and thank you for the story. I appreciated it."
No problem, buddy. And he kind of slaps him on the back again, a little, probably more harder than he wanted to, and just kind of finishes off his drink. Or maybe he stumbles to the bottom.
Just to quickly get it over with, at some point, Amsen's going to do something that he hasn't done in a long time. He's going to focus and change his coat of refinement to a Russian sailor's coat.
Okay. And what color is it?
It's kind of like a dark navy with what's it called? The
buttons.
The button strap things on military uniform jackets, kind of that thing, and they're made out of some sort of gold-colored fabric.
Okay, sure. This navy jacket appears suddenly on Amsen. As you're still slicing through the ocean in this night. The stars are overhead, the moon is as well. You see a few elves are kind of in the back are seated and are just kind of staring out to sea.
I think Vesper will go find Ball. Wherever he may be.
Ball, are you above deck or below? Or?
Yeah, I realized that it's a lot more comfy above deck where I can stand instead of being hunched over and starting to hurt my back.
So, how are you holding up out here?
I don't know if I like the water.
I don't think I like it much either. It's lovely, but oof.
I agree.
I meant to talk to you a bit more back in Embershore before we set out, but are you thinking of getting anything out of this? My pilgrimage?
Ball just kind of stops and thinks about it. I will see what happens. I think this is important for you.
Hey, I have an odd question, I guess. Ian, has she ever spoken to you?
I don't think she speaks the way that we speak to each other.
No, but has she ever, I don't know, have you ever felt her, had a sign? Has she ever answered any of your questions, your prayers?
I believe she speaks to me in visions.
What kind of visions?
Strange dreams.
Vesper just kind of looks out of the water.
What about you?
No. Never.
I think I'll Paul will kind of point to your holy symbol and say, you have special abilities to mend wounds.
Yeah.
Not everyone can do that.
You're right. I'm probably just overthinking things. You know, I'm sure this is all part of the journey. The questions and doubt any of that.
I think they speak in different ways. Maybe not always so obvious.
Well, I was wondering if you wanted to pray later, maybe before we go to bed, like we usually do.
Paul nods.
And I think Vesper is deep in thought and just kind of wanders away to go look at the water on the other side of the boat.
And at this point, night has been fallen for a few hours. It's probably getting close to 11 o'clock at this point, 10:30, moving on to 11.
Do we just meet up again and start praying?
Yeah. If Alejandro hasn't come up.
He hasn't come up yet, actually.
Then yeah, I'll go back and pray with Paul.
You do find a spot of the ship that's a little quieter. There's a few elves that are awake and are looking out, moving about every now and then, just staring out the horizon, make sure the mast and sails are in the appropriate positions. And there's a few towards the back that just stare out to sea. Their eyes, whatever their normal color is, that color is expanded to cover the entirety of their eyes. And all of the golden elves have eye colors of the ocean. There are various blues and greens and mixes in between. And there's a few that just seem to be entranced, staring out. They don't notice anyone around them. But finding a quiet spot on the boat near the edge over the ocean.
I'm just kind of reciting the usual prayers that I've been taught in Giant with Paul.
I think at the end of, towards the end of the prayer session, when we're doing one of the last repetitions in our rosary, Paul goes, thank you, Ayin, for all of your gifts. And please talk to Vesper so that you are around. Make it more obvious for her. Maybe a nice dream. I don't know how you work.
Make a straight wisdom check, Paul.
18.
Okay. You both finish your prayers upon the deck. The rest of you, as they're kind of saying their prayers, are you guys doing anything in particular, or just getting ready for bed?
Yeah, I would like to try something. I don't know if this will work or not, but it's worth a shot. So, I was wondering if I can use what I know about making lockpicks and some of the metal that I brought along with me to try and craft a rough holy symbol.
You can certainly try. It might be difficult. What are you trying to make?
I mean, I'm just trying to make a holy symbol of Valtameri, or at least a rough approximation of one that I can just keep in my pocket, I guess.
Okay. Make either a dexterity check or charisma check. Actually, this would be more dexterity.
Okay. That is a 12.
Okay. You take some of the metal, almost metal wire that you've gathered to make lockpicks later, and begin to try to twisting it around, wrapping it around each other to try to produce wave-like appearance. You can get one of the lockpicks to vaguely resemble a wave, but it's hard to... you can kind of tell what it is, but it's not great. Your materials just aren't what you need.
How much of the metal do I use for that?
Probably 3 lockpicks worth.
Okay. And then I just kind of stare at it for a little while and sigh in frustration and put my sort of makeshift holy symbol in my pocket for now.
Okay. The rest of you interrupt me if you're doing anything in particular. But as you're kind of...
If I'm drunk, yeah. I'm gonna bother the wood elf and offer her a shot.
You're currently buzzed. If you continue drinking, you could easily be drunk if you so desired.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, and it doesn't take much of that alcohol to get you there.
Thank God.
Another pour, like you poured before, and you can get to the drunk stage. 2 more drinks after that, you can probably get to the wasted stage, but in the drunk stage, you are disoriented and kind of stumbling around. Your speed is halved as you're stumbling around and have disadvantage on any sort of checks requiring intellect.
I want to come up to Orizana and see, like, hey, you need to have some of this. It's for our inaugural voyage.
She kind of wakes up, looks back at you, and just kind of shakes her head and backs up to the wall.
It's just, and he kind of takes a sip of it, and he's like, no, it's pretty good. My dad makes it, and you should have some.
Make a persuasion check.
I think it's a 10. Yes, it's a 10.
She shakes her head and puts her hand up and doesn't appear to want to take the glass.
Well, that's okay. I'll just... And he kind of slumps a little bit closer, like almost maybe if she's on the floor, wherever she is, he kind of slumps next to her, but maybe more on the ground, as in laying on the ground. It's just like, it's okay. I'll take care. I'll take yours. Don't, I got you tonight. And then he'll just start rambling.
Okay, she kind of sitting down against the back wall. She kind of shifts over about a foot further away from you and just kind of lets you ramble. Her eyes are kind of wide right now.
My daddy's such a nice man. He just does me so good, and I don't want to let him down. You know, it's just I really want to show him that I could be the man he thinks I should be.
She clearly has no idea what you're saying as you ramble on about your father and family and what have you.
Ezekiel will wander in, intending to get in a hammock to go to bed. Now you're going to have to cut that shit out.
See? Hey, buddy. Would you like some drink?
Maybe tomorrow. We got a long boat ride. Sleep it off, Kalvyn.
That's probably... Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Away from her.
What? And he kind of looks to where she is, and he does like, whoa, shit, I didn't realize you were there. Okay. All right, you have a good night now.
And he's gonna slump into a hammock.
Okay. For those getting into the hammocks are actually on 4 corners, post. They're almost like nets, almost, more than hammocks, but they serve their purpose.
I'm going to go get mine and Ball's bedrolls and things and take them up onto the deck.
Okay. You're going to sleep above deck? Amsen and Ellory, are you all sleeping in your hammocks? Or?
Yeah, I'm going to sleep in the hammocks. When Orizana was sleeping before, was she in one of the hammocks or was she on the floor?
On the floor.
Okay, so before I go to bed, I look at her and I say, you'd probably be more comfortable in one of these hammocks.
Her eyes kind of look around, expecting a trick. Fine. She slowly stands up and begins to move cautiously towards a hammock.
It's up to you, but...
She stops and squints at you, confused.
Look, you don't have to do what I suggest. You can do whatever you prefer.
She lets out a sigh and goes back to where she was and sits down. She doesn't, understand well the concept of personal choice.
This is going to take some work, isn't it?
Seeing Ellory struggle, Ezekiel will reach down to his bedroll and toss it over. At least have that. You're not a slave anymore. You can have some compass.
She takes it and just kind of puts it to the side and just kind of watches you for a while. But if y'all stay up enough, you notice you'll eventually kind of spread it out and scoot on top of it and just sit on it. And will then eventually lay down on it and slowly makes her way to actually use it.
I'll go to bed.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. And Amsen, were you sleeping below deck or in the hammocks?
Yeah, I'll sleep in the hammocks.
Okay. As Ellory and Amsen, y'all come down, you see the gentleman in black, Allie, heading up the stairs above deck, bottle in hand. It's probably whenever y'all went to bed, maybe 11, maybe a little past. And for Vesper and Ball, did y'all go to bed after the prayers, more or less?
More or less.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll probably be up a little bit. I want to look at the stars.
Okay. Well, in that case, as you're kind of spreading the bedrolls out, going to bed, staring up at the constellations above, as you pass below them, there's a few clouds in the sky, but mostly clear. And eventually, you settle down to go to bed, uninterrupted. There's a few elves two in particular, that walk around. I'm trying to think of the word. They walk around, patrol. They patrol the boat, as the others are more or less in their trance. But y'all go to bed and wake up the next day as the sun rises in front of you, and you're sailing straight into the sun. The ship seems to have built up speed and is skipping over these choppy waves, just kind of cutting through the waves. As you get up, and the boat does serve food at kind of regular hours in the sort of mid-morning and then dinner, as well as lunch in the middle. Basic food, nothing fancy, mostly fish and like kelp-like salad. It's pretty decent. But as you are traveling, a few hours go by before you begin to notice a number of the golden elves heading towards the front, leading over the left side of the ship. You hear them talking excitedly as they point out to the sea.
I want to go over and see what it is.
Me too.
Okay. For those of you...
Amsen's up there, I'll pull him along.
Okay. For those of you that are... And all of you would probably be above deck at this point after having dinner, and it's a little after lunchtime. You head over, leaning over the sides of the ship. You see the light reflecting off something beneath the waters. Not too deep into the water, maybe 10, 15 feet. You see 1, 2, 3, you see numerous of them, maybe 15, 30, a line of them heading from the northwest south, and the ship is beginning to cross over them. The ship slows down to get a better look and not speed by them. As you notice these pearls, large. They have, or not pearls, turtles, and their backs are shelled in this pearlescent material that reflects the sun. As you see these massive turtles swimming beneath the ship, heading northwest to southeast. You see maybe 10, 15, 20 go by before the caravan of these turtles begins to trail off. At which point, the golden elves and probably some of you two switch to the other side of the boat to continue getting a good look at them as the boat is more or less stopped to get a view of these turtles.
Is Orizana up here, or is she still down below?
She's down below.
Okay, I'm gonna run down to where she is as quickly as I can and say, hey, do you want to come up to the top? There's something pretty interesting to take a look at.
She's wide-eyed and afraid as you sprint down to her, huffing and puffing.
When I notice that, I try and calm myself a little bit, try and make myself appear a little less apparently threatening to her. And then I say, it's turtles. They're really beautiful. You might want to take a look.
Make a persuasion check.
Okay.
And while she's rolling that, the rest of you make perception
Natural 20.
checks. Ellory, as you say this, her eyes wind up and she almost cocks her head to the side. Turtles. And she begins to get up and slowly follow you. She's not sprinting, but she does follow you slowly and cautiously.
I try not to rush her and just follow the same pace that she's taking.
Okay. And then as you're heading back above deck, Ezekiel Vesper, you two see as the line begins to fade away, there's one final glint, and it's a good 35 feet, 40 feet behind the rest of the line. You see the reflection off this turtle isn't as bright. You can see this turtle is slower, and the shell is heavily wounded. You see marks upon the back where something has gotten to it, and is slowly falling behind. And
I jump in the water at it.
Okay. You just swan dive off towards the turtle?
You said it. Wait, how far, away from the ship? Can I catch it, right as it passes beneath?
Yeah, you could potentially do that.
Yep.
You got a good side of it. Okay, what is your goal? To jump on the turtle?
Yeah, I want to be able to try and get close enough to touch it so I can try and heal it.
Okay. Make a athletics check for me. It's not super hard.
Hey, how far down from us is it?
Natural 20, so 25.
So as you are looking all at those turtles, you see Ezekiel suddenly take a step back as Ellory and Orizana are getting now to the top of the deck. And Ezekiel runs, jumps onto the side railing and jumps off, doing a somersault and diving into the waves. And Ezekiel, it's only maybe 10 feet below, diving in, you are face to face with this turtle. You see massive scars upon its back where the shell has been cracked. The material of the shell appears to be this pearlescent-like material, and you're 8 inches from the turtle shell itself.
I will just reach out to touch it and try putting lay on hands all 10 points to see if I can, cause the shell to heal a little bit.
Okay. And as you land close, the turtle immediately begins to try and dive, but as you reach out and touch it, you see the back of the shell begin to scrape together, beginning to come back and close the wound upon the shell. A few of the fins as well that were damaged begin to grow back together. And its speed seems to increase a little bit as it dives further down.
And I'll let it go. Go ahead.
No, if it's diving, it's too late. I was going to just try and healing word it from the boat if it was within 60 feet.
You could. Give me a dex check.
I was actually thinking on doing the same, if that's all right.
Both of you will make initiative checks to see if you can react quickly enough to 22. Ezekiel doing this.
I got a 16.
I'll say you can probably do it too. Just barely. At the tail end of its dive. The range is pretty good as it begins to dive. Both of you casting those spells.
And this 12 points of healing.
13.
Looks like he had to run out, so break time?
Should we come back on the hour?
Yeah, let's just do 10, so that's 14 minutes.
Cool.
That should give him enough time, hopefully.
Next time on Back to the Story.
Not quite shimmer, but you see a ripple of something appear. As it just goes into a death roll, all of you can see it around, just barrel after barrel, whipping ball around. The stars don't appear the same light. The rest of them appear that sort of white with hints of blue light. And there's a section of them with maybe 3 stars just at the edge of the horizon over the ocean, where they appear white, but with more of a hint of gold or yellow. One of them blinks.
For part 2 of this episode of Back to the Story, you can find it on Stitcher, Google Play, Player FM, or TuneIn. If you'd like to support the show, feel free to buy us a coffee at ko-fi.com/backtothestory.